You're with Clement Manyatela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the Clement Manyatela Show. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you're well this morning. Today we are broadcasting live from the Sandton Convention Center and the Meetings Africa 2025, courtesy of South African Tourism. So this is an event that showcases the depth of Africa's expertise, right? You've got thought leaders here, you've got tourism experts, and they're all under one roof. The whole idea is to unlock opportunities for Africa through quality connections. Hence, the business events, products from across the continent that are showcasing their work at this conference. And we need to see growth, right? We need to see the growth of the business events industry on the continent, don't we? And that's why Meetings Africa exists, to provide a platform for exhibitors to showcase their offerings to international and local buyers. These African associations and to these corporate planners as well. It's also an important platform on the continent, right, for these face-to-face meetings with the most influential buyers in the world. So during the course of the show, we will be bringing in some of the key players here at the Meetings Africa conference to speak to us. We're here to bring you insights and updates as they happen. But we start the show with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. You can send us your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. AfriForum and Solidarity were at the White House yesterday, meeting with senior representatives of the Trump administration. So they're continuing with their disinformation campaign. They have urged the U.S. to punish President Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC for what they call government's discriminatory racial legislation. During their meeting, the delegation says it expressed its gratitude to the Trump administration for highlighting the human rights violations against Afrikaners and the ANC's reckless policies and poor governance of the country. So the Solidarity Movement also said it's grateful for Trump's willingness to provide assistance to Afrikaners as well. They further expressed serious concerns about the consequences of the Expropriation Act, of racial laws, calls for violence against Afrikaners and the attacks on Afrikaans schools, such as on the Bella Act. So that's what they've said while they were meeting with these senior officials in the White House. By the way, there are reports in the U.S. suggesting that our government officials and our ambassador in the U.S. are struggling to get access to these senior officials that are close to Donald Trump. But it was so easy for AfriForum to have this easy access, and that should tell you a lot, right? Even Helen Ziller, the DA Federal Executive Chair, met with Trump's advisors, I think last year. And that's the challenge here, isn't it? That our government officials are not the only people President Trump's advisors and officials are listening to. Helen Ziller spoke to them. AfriForum spoke to them. I think the DA said they'll be sending their delegation as well. We don't have a coherent, common message as South Africa. We're pulling from different sides. What are your thoughts on this latest move by AfriForum in Washington, D.C.? And by the way, did you see that President Donald Trump has announced that the U.S. would be selling a gold card to wealthy foreigners, giving them the right to live and work in the U.S. And offering them a path to citizenship in exchange for, wait for it, a $5 million fee. So for $5 million, you can buy this gold card that gives you an opportunity to go live in the U.S. and that's offering you a path to citizenship. And Donald Trump actually said that's going to be better than a green card. Is that something you'd consider? Let me know your thoughts. At 10 o'clock, we're going to find out from AfriForum in Solidarity what exactly they told these senior officials in the White House. And then at 10:30, we'll be focusing on what we are here for, at the Sandton Convention Center at this Meetings Africa. We'll speak to some of the key players here at the conference. And then at 11 o'clock, we do our Listener's Choice feature. And today we'll be looking at the different types of taxes that we pay. Do you actually know all the types of taxes you pay? Following the budget speech postponement due to disagreements around the 2 percentage point increase in VAT, one of our listeners asked that we look at each and every tax that we pay in South Africa. I mean, some taxes are once off, like your transfer duties when you're buying property. Some taxes are constant, like your VAT and your sin tax, etc. So how are these taxes determined? And we pay a lot of tax directly and indirectly, right? The direct taxes are taxes paid by taxpayers directly to the government, whereas indirect taxes are taxes levied on the supply of goods and services. So how does all of that work? We're going to try and make sense of that for you with our expert at 11 o'clock. And then at 11:30, we're going to do the sharing space. We received quite a heartbreaking email from one of our listeners who, should I call it sibling rivalry? Yeah, I think that's what they're dealing with in their family. So she sent us an email raising a concern about the relationship that she has with her brother since the mom passed, and how the brother, doesn't want to share the proceeds of the rental apartments that the parents left them as children, right, when they passed. And the listener is asking for your advice on how to handle this situation. So we'll read you that email at 11:30 on the sharing space, and you can share what your thoughts and advice are. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Maniatella, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
So here's a question for you. Were you raised by your grandparents? And what do you think were the advantages and disadvantages of that? I'm asking you that because we found out this week that about 9.7 million children in the country are living with their grandparents. And many of those households, by the way, rely on social grants for survival. This is according to Stats SA. And this really piqued our interest with the producers. And we thought we should ask you what your experience was of being raised by your grandparent, because where would we be without our grandparents? I was raised by both my maternal and paternal grandmothers. I was with my mom's mom, or in fact my mom's parents, until I was about 3 or 4 or 5, somewhere there. I was raised by my paternal grandmother from when I was about 5, 6 till much later when I was in secondary school, when she passed. And my experience with people who were raised by their grandparents is that we are quite respectful. Huh? We are. Would you agree? Would you disagree? I think I'm respectful. Everybody I've met who was raised by their grandparent, to me, they've come across as respectful. They have solid values. They are more disciplined. And so do I. And they can do a lot of house chores. And that's not all of them, of course. I don't want to generalize. But that's what I have observed. I loved also the stories that our grandparents told. I think for me, that's also one of the advantages. I learned a lot about my language, Sepedi and Isindebele from my mom's side, from them. And those are things I would count as advantages. My grandmothers were quite strict, and maybe that's a bit of a disadvantage. And I know, grandparents these days spoil their kids and they are soft and all that stuff. Yeah, that's modern grandparenting. It's not what we are used to. What were the benefits for you? And what were the disadvantages for you if you were raised by your grandparents? Let's share our experiences, good and bad, on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702, 16 after 9.
The future of business tourism is here. The Clement Maniatella Show on 702, live from Meetings Africa 2025, where Africa leads and the world follows.
It's 19 minutes now after 9 o'clock. Let's start with your WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, Clement. Regarding the AfriForum and Solidarity being able to get access to US officials, let's not forget that the US is angry, the Trump administration is angry with South Africa for the ICJ case. Ronald Lamola proudly displays the Palestine scarf, and Ibrahim Rasool as well is a big supporter of Palestine. So being blue-ticked by a pro-Israeli government is not much of a surprise, considering that the officials that actually want to meet with him are considered pro-Palestine, and that could be the fundamental issue, whereas people that have been neutral throughout the whole Israel-Palestine war and calling for peace are the ones that actually then get an audience with the Trump administration. So I think that's a big reason why. Thanks. This is Dumisani Centurion.
Hi, Clement. This is Sidola Tusuman. Clement, I'm really perplexed by this. How can such solidarity and AfriForum, during the dark days of apartheid, they had it all, these guys, they still have, they still live a good life, even today. But they choose to go all the way, miles away to a foreign country to call for sanctions for a democratic country. That's very absurd.
Morning, Clement. Listening to this Donald Trump gold card citizenship story, that system has been available in the United States forever. I have a friend who bought citizenship for himself, his son, his wife, his daughter-in-law, and her husband and their families. He bought them by investing enough in the country. Fortunately for him, he's very wealthy. But he didn't have to pay any extra additional $5 million fee. So Donald Trump doesn't even know what his own policies in the country are.
Well, welcome to the Trump presidency, my friends. Minister Patricia de Lille is going to be speaking to us in a moment. Let me quickly take two calls. Sarah in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for a great show. My concern is that I think we need to stop fantasizing about first world countries and what they can offer us. Because the truth of the matter is that the first world countries need the developing countries. And especially South Africa in point. South Africa geographically is well positioned. And we all know that everyone wants to come to South Africa, not just with regards to minerals and as well as the land, but its strategic position in the African continent as well as around the seas. The sea industry, the ocean industry is very important, and we are strategic. And we need to get out. I have to make this point that although it will sound racial, but at the base of all this, there are racial politics. America is only concerned about the white population. It is a fact. Even the black Americans in America do not have the power. So wherever they are, the white population wants to have superiority, even in countries where they are not the indigenous people. Case in point is Africa. So I don't think South Africa should be concerned about these people. In fact, they need to be put in their place. The South African government, which is run by the ANC, is the government and it needs to be respected. And in fact, the politicians need to start respecting themselves. And we need to start moving away from prioritizing foreign policies and align ourselves with what matters in our sovereign needs. It's like what?
All right. Sarah, I got it. Yeah. And this is not a government by the ANC. This is a government of national unity. It's different parties that make up this government. But I got you there. Let's take Noni. Noni, you were raised by your grandparents. What was your experience? Hi.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Hi, yes. So my comment was just that being raised by a grandmother had a lot of advantages. I heard you mention that they were strict. And for me, I find that it was an advantage because had she not been strict, I think I would have not turned out the way I did. Because I think her strictness restrained me from going astray, And they were the type of people who were very organized and orderly. And that has rubbed off on me because I now can organize my house. I can organize my documents. I can organize everything. And she even influenced the way I dress, She taught me I need to dress like this when I dress like a lady and all of that. She even influenced how I think, So it was the little things, even though she never had direct conversations when she was trying to teach me something. But the fact that she lived a particular life and I've watched her all my life, that is definitely, I can see that I'm a copy of her.
Yeah. Amazing. Noni, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I've been asking you this morning if you were raised by your grandparents and what are the benefits that you've observed. Let's share our experiences. My experience is that many of us who were raised by our grandparents are a lot more disciplined than others. So what is your experience? There are 9.7 million children in this country that are living with their grandparents.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyatela
on 702.
So Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille is here with us at the Sandton Convention Center. Minister, thank you so much for popping in here.
Good to see you.
Were you raised by grandparents by any chance?
You know what, the late Archbishop Tutu once organized for grandparents an event, afternoon tea, in the city of Cape Town. And he asked them to come dressed the way they dressed on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And he made a very valid point there. He said if grandparents go on a strike one day, it will bring this economy to its knees because they look after the little ones while we all work.
While we're here at work, I agree.
Yes.
So we're here at the Meetings Africa at the Sandton Convention Center. Just speak to us about why a meeting like this is so important and how does it align with SA Tourism's broader strategy to promote this country as a global business events destination.
Clement, this is an annual event. We are living in a very competitive world. And the continent as a whole, we only have a small share of the business events worldwide. And together we are trying to grow and claim more from that global market. So it is a Pan-African event where we are showing people, look, we're even hosting the G20. That we're willing, we're able, we've got the infrastructure and we've got the venues, come here. So it's part of the broader tourism package that South Africa is not just about leisure and adventure tourism, it's also about business events. And it makes a big contribution to our economy. This year we have got over 27 African countries here out of the 60 countries that are attending. And we from the Department of Tourism, we've sponsored about 25 SMMEs to give them that exposure. But all over we've got 130 SMMEs here to give them that market access. So it is really adding to our economy, but also showcasing our country.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, we need help as much as we can in terms of growing our economy and creating jobs.
That is it, yes. I mean, that is one of the key priorities of the GNU.
So this country of ours ranks as the number one business events destination
in
on
Africa,
the continent,
yes.
right? In the Middle East.
Yes.
Is the country leveraging on this business events market, and what do you think we need to do more to take more advantage of this unique rank that we have?
We certainly have, but we mustn't be complacent now that we are leading in the Middle East and in Africa. So we've got the South African National Convention Bureau, and government invests money in the bureau, and they go out around the world and they source bids to South Africa. So we have submitted about 81 bids to host conferences, and so far we've been successful with 53 of those. But we've also ensured, Clement, that we spread the events across the country. So the 53 that we are now be hosting in the next 3 years, it's Johannesburg, it's eThekwini, it is Cape Town, Johannesburg, but also places like Paris in the Free State, places like Gqeberha, places like Stellenbosch. So we also bid for the smaller conferences so that we can spread it across the country. Yes.
Yeah. How are our tourism numbers looking? Are they growing? Because I think we are increasingly seeing, tourists coming from the rest of the continent and not
Yes.
just abroad. How are we looking? Are we recovering well since COVID-19?
Yes, domestically we've recovered fully because we all wanted to get out, revenge travel. Internationally, we're still below our 2019 figures. Last year, 2024, we received 8.9 million visitors, a 5.1% growth. And I'm not satisfied with 2 consecutive years just growing by 5%. So now with the breakthrough of 2 big source markets, India and China, that we have sorted out the visa system for them, and they normally travel in groups. We hope to grow the numbers substantially. But we will be servicing our old markets and maintaining them, but we are going to focus this year on China and India to help us to grow the numbers.
Yeah, and just lastly on the G20, we are hosting a lot of G20 meetings this year. We've got a G20 summit coming up later in the year. How is the tourism sector leveraging this opportunity to attract more visitors?
If you see the G20 website, we have got a link that we ask them to put in what to do while in South Africa. We are putting on various different packages. We want people to even come earlier and enjoy or stay afterwards to enjoy our country. And then, of course, the more than 132 business events that we will be hosting. The tourism ministerial meeting will take place on the 12th of September in Mpumalanga, because we have spread the ministerial meetings across the country. We will also have a tourism investment summit, and then we're also involving the young people through a hackathon where they can design solutions for us and project, the kind of skills that will be needed in the sector in the next 5 to 10 years. So we're very excited, and our people, Clement, is our biggest asset, that Ubuntu, that warm welcoming. And I really want to thank the private sector and all the people working in the tourism sector for the fantastic job that they are doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Minister, thank you so much for making time
Thank
for
you,
us.
Clement. Thank you for the time.
All the best with this Meetings Africa conference here at the Sandton Convention Center. That's the Tourism Minister, Patricia de Lille. It's just after 9:30. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines when we come back. More of your calls on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Were you raised by your grandmother? I see a lot of people are disagreeing with me on Twitter that who says if you're raised by your grandmother, you are more behaved, you are more disciplined, you've got better values. I'm saying my observation is that many of us who were raised by our grandmothers are more disciplined. We've got more solid values. We can do house chores. What's your experience? Let's share that, good and bad. I'm also getting your thoughts on AfriForum's latest move. They met with Donald Trump's senior advisors in the White House yesterday.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyatela.
on 702.
24 minutes before 10 o'clock, 011-883-0702 is the number to dial this hour on the 702 open line for your thoughts, your views. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Chilizi, let's start with you in Midrand. Thank you for your patience in holding. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
Sharp, man. Go ahead.
I'm good. Yes, I just wanted to comment on this AfriForum visiting the United States of America. In my view, I think we are more focused on whether what AfriForum is doing is correct or not correct. But we are missing the point in terms of what has led to this kind of happening today. And the main reason is that our government, or South Africa as a country, has allowed lack of accountability to persist for so many years, to a point where that trust between the citizens and the state no longer exists. And even if we can talk about institutions that maybe AfriForum should have approached first internally to start voicing whatever they are voicing there in the United States, you will realize that all those institutions have been weakened to a point where nobody can even trust that if maybe I go to our government and voice my concerns, they will be handled with respect, and I will be given a fair answer out of it. So I think as South Africans, or all of us, black and white, we must start looking at rebuilding our country and restore trust that should be there between us and those who have elected in government. Because what has happened now, we have gone to a point where not even a president can come out and take a decision and people be like, the president has spoken. Everybody has something to say, and everyone wants to be heard now, because we have allowed lack of accountability to persist. Corruption has eroded everything, and what we are seeing are the results of a mishandled social contract.
Yeah, and there are many countries that mishandle their social contracts, Chilidzi, and that's why countries have institutions that deal with that mismanagement, right? You don't need another country to come into a sovereign state and wants to dictate how they should be handling their issues. And of course, if a party is, a country is a member of a multilateral institutions, organization like the United Nations, there are expectations that the United Nations has of you. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think South Africa has been found wanting in any of those. And please correct me if I'm wrong here. So what gives AfriForum then the right to go and want to ask another country to come and intervene in our sovereign state, in our sovereign issues? Yes, AGOA, because that is what we get to benefit, right, from this, preferential market in the US. Our businesses benefit from that. Yes, we can have a conversation about that. But you want another country to come and tell us about how we must be redressing the injustices of the past. You want another country to come into this country, that government to come and tell us what kind of education policies we should be having. Then we're a banana republic. Then we must forget about our sovereign state. We don't dictate to the US what they must do. Whether they're a superpower or not, what gives them the right to think they can even begin to suggest how we must be running things here? Let's go to Sive, who's calling us from the Vaal. Sive, good morning.
Hi, Clement.
Hi, Kimnat. Were you raised by your grandparents?
Yes, I was raised by the grandparents. When Clement, I'm not going to say you're wrong, I'm not going to say you're right, but what I can tell you, kids that we they are very spoiled. And most of the things, like the house chores and everything, somebody.
Yeah.
Hi, Clement. Something.
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you.
So I'm one of them. My grandmother took me to, I don't know, what you call it, party. All the days we do molo at night. I couldn't go carry and stuff like that. So I only got to learn these things when I visited for aunt and when at my mom's place. So and okay, the values, the values, but most of them spoil bread. They like last ones.
Really? Okay, Sive in the Vaal. Thank you for your thoughts. You guys agree with Sive? I don't know. Are we spoiled? I don't remember my grandparents. I mean, I do remember when my grandmother used to get her social grant. She used to give me I think 50 Rand or something. And then she'd give my younger brother probably around 20 Rand or 30 Rand. But we always looked forward to that. But we also worked hard for that because we had to massage her feet. There are times when my grandmother, because she was a bit sickly and she had problems with her feet, she used to get us to massage her. She used to send us everywhere. So I think to just be grateful, to say, I see you and I'm grateful for your help, she would give us that. But I don't think that's her spoiling us. If anything, I learned how to cook. I learned to do so many chores that I'm able to do today, thanks to the teachings of my grandparents. What are your thoughts? Let's go to Tsepo, who's calling us from Pretoria. Tsepo, you want to talk about AfriForum? What do you think? Hi.
Yeah. Hi, Clement. Look, Clement, my thing, which is really what's missing in what AfriForum is saying, and it's been missing for years, is that when the president signs any act into law, this thing is not his choice. It's something that comes from Parliament that comprises of black people and white people. So this thing is not something that just fell from the sky and it landed on the president's table. It came from Parliament, and the Parliament has deliberated on this thing. Actually, they've done more. They went to the public, discussed with the public extensively on public television. And the overwhelming society agreed that this thing must be done.
Tsepo,
you understand?
You are on the money. You're on the money, Tsepo. You are on the money. The last time I spoke to them, I put that to them, that there was a parliamentary process. So whether you talk about the Bella Act or you talk about expropriation bill or expropriation act, there was a parliamentary process. South Africans were consulted. South Africans in their majority said, we are good. Kudos. Parliament and the different parties there, because we believe also in a majority there for us to pass these legislations. They said kudos to that. So why apportion blame to specifically the ANC?
And where's Clement? There's no law that allows the president to reject the document from the Parliament for his signature. Maybe they need to show us what law must the president use to say, I'm not going to sign this law. Once the decision has been made in Parliament, the president has no right to say, no, I do not agree with this thing, and I return it. Absolutely no right, unless somebody goes to Constitutional Court and say, the court then rules that this thing must go back. But there's no law that says, President, you shall not sign this thing. Nothing.
Yeah, look, the president can only not sign it if he is not satisfied that it passes constitutional muster. So you're right in that once it's sitting on the president's desk, he has to sign it. Unless, and that's what the Constitution says, unless he's got constitutional concerns, and then he can send it back to Parliament. But if he doesn't, the obligation is to sign it. That's really it. Lintikile in Centurion. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Clement. How are you?
Sharp, man. Are you? Go ahead.
Right. I just want to speak about what Siwe said earlier, saying because he was brought up by grandparents, actually couldn't do anything. I'm the opposite of that. I was brought up by my grandparents. I learned to cook, I think, at the age of 10, to do the washing and to iron and to clean the house at an early age. And up to now, Clement, one thing I do not like is doing the washing. I can do anything, even in my house. I can help with anything, but please don't ask me to do the washing. That's the thing that I cannot stand. But that actually comes from the teaching of my grandmother. So, grandparents are doing great job when coming to that one. Yes,
Yeah, Lindikile, I have to agree with you. I cannot wash the dishes. Please never ask me to wash the dishes. Never ask me to do laundry. Never ask me to iron the clothes. And never ask me to clean the house. Because I did that so much growing up. As the firstborn, the deputy parent, that was my responsibility. I was cooking, I was ironing, I was washing with my mom over the weekends, I was cleaning the house, and I've literally just reached my level of exhaustion. I don't think I still have the capacity for it. But the good thing is you are able to do it, right? If the situation requires that you show up like that you do iron, that you do wash you can do all of those chores because you've been trained well. Ephraim, you are calling us from Alex. What do you want to say about AfriForum? Hi.
7,000.
Sharp, man, go ahead.
I'm good. Clement, I'll try to be similar to the caller before the two ones. When he says about we need to understand the context of AfriForum. We are South Africans, when Clement. And as long as AfriForum is not taking the government out, it's fine. If they take ANC, it's fine. I'm applaud with them. I'm with them. Because we are pressed as a black people in South Africa by the African National Congress. A black governance that it should empower, that should keep us a path or a step to whatever we want to achieve. But they are the one who oppress us more than any other thing. So Clement, we can't sit and let's remember something. We are pressed with this thing. There's no way we can go. As an individual, if I'm in Alexander e-hailing driver, there's nothing they're giving to me. They are oppressing me more than any other thing. So what should I do? What should I do, Clement? We don't have nowhere to go. Now I can give an example. We have complained about the emissary of transport in having a counter to us. That he done nothing regarding that. So what should we do? What should we do? There's no way I can go. President, we tried to march. You saw e-hailing strike that we tried. No one is helping us. So AfriForum is going out because they express all the frustration to all the doors, but no one listened to them. They went out. I also, if I could have chance, I could go somewhere else, Britain or wherever, and report this matter that you're going
you would
no
go to America to tell? Would you go to America to tell Trump that there are e-hailing issues here? Is that what you would do?
Yeah, MEC don't want to regulate them. I can go there and they say that. I'm frustrated, Clement. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm working day and night
without
any. But remember, Clement, our complaints, we have solutions. When we told them this is the problem, this is the solution, we give them everything. But because they're arrogant, they don't want to come and engage us and do the same thing. The very same MEC of transport in Gauteng is the one who divides us more. As we speak, we have the leadership in Gauteng of e-hailing, but he's doing another.
Yeah. I got you. I hear you. I hear you, Ephraim, and I absolutely understand the frustration that you have, and rightly so, because the issues that you're raising are issues that have been affecting you as e-hailing drivers for a while now. What I'm saying is that's not an issue you run into another country to complain about and say, oh, e-hailing, what is Trump supposed to do? What is the government of Botswana supposed to do about that? That's our own issue. You address that with the leadership you have elected. If the leadership you have elected doesn't want to do that, remove them in the next elections. You've got opportunities to do that, right? There are opportunities to hold the government that we have accountable. But please don't think that this is normal and this is actually the effective way to raise issues where you can run into Lesotho, run into Botswana, run into America, run into Namibia and say, oh, look, I'm worried about this bill that was passed by Parliament, a bill that has gone through all the constitutional processes before any bill could be passed. That's not the way to raise it. That's not an effective way to raise it. You're alienating also the very people that are ultimately, whether Trump shouts at the top of his lungs or not, the very people that must still resolve your issues are the leaders that you have in this country.
Connections that matter. Deals that shape the future. Meetings Africa 2025 on the Clement Manyatela Show. Only on 702.
6 minutes now before 10 o'clock. As we've been telling you this morning, we are broadcasting live from the Meetings Africa 2025, courtesy of South African Tourism. And I'm joined now by Noni Kubeka, who's the Executive Director for Convention and Events Bureau at the Gauteng Tourism Authority. Noni, thank you for popping in here in our makeshift studio. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to our listeners.
So you guys are the hosts of this 19th edition of Meetings Africa, the continent's premier business events trade show. How much capacity and potential does Gauteng have for hosting business events?
Yeah, business events consist of meetings, conferences, exhibitions and incentives. We also include business events and lifestyle events. If you look at the venues that we have, such as the Convention Center and Nasrec, which is the Joburg Expo Center, and Gallagher, we've got approximately 401 venues that can accommodate the business events industry, and ranging from 50,000 square meters of exhibition space to 120,000 square meters of space. So we are huge in terms of the business events industry and in terms of the meetings industry. So we can accommodate up to 45,000 seated conference, just as an example.
Yeah. Well, what's attracting the clients most to Gauteng as a host of business events?
Accessibility. When you are from we are a long-haul destination in the continent, or let me say in the world. So when people come with direct flights, that is the first thing. The fact that we've got an international airport, and the fact that we've got transportation, such as the Gautrain, our taxis, infrastructure. So our infrastructure is world-class, and that is what attracts them to Gauteng.
Yeah. And how does such a meeting build and grow Gauteng's business event sector and support the local businesses as well? What are the benefits of a conference like this?
I think maybe let me explain to say business events is like business tourism, clearly to our listeners. We are attracting meetings, delegates and participants to come to our destination to attend those meetings. And when they attend the meetings, they have to sleep somewhere, they have to eat somewhere, they have to have transportation, they have to have bags, they have to have IT, they have to have a lot of things. And in that, we are using our small businesses. Sometimes we don't have infrastructure in the township, but what we do is that we take businesses from the township to be suppliers of pro goods and services. Yeah. So how we assist is that for each and every event, 30% of that has to go to small businesses as part of empowerment. So businesses like this bring more money into the destination. So it increases the economic impact, but also it increases money into the destination through bed nights and spend.
Yeah. Are you investing in other areas of Gauteng, because it's mostly Johannesburg normally that benefits when you host events like this, like business events?
Yes, we do all 5 regions. Yeah. We've got different sectors that we're looking at, and according to the capacity. So if we do, for example, West Rand, we'll look at the ecotourism side of things and wellness side of things. We've got venues there that look after that. Okay. Especially corporate meetings would like to do places like the district of West Rand and Sidibeng. Okay. We do the capital city, which is the city of Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni. I mean, we've seen a lot of events and conferences happening at the Empress side of things, the Bedshoot and all that. So we do distribution, and we also look after seasonality, because that is important. Right. Johannesburg being our pillar, but the other regions also benefiting from that.
All right. Noni Kubeka, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we'll be bringing you more of interviews from some of the key players here at the meetings Africa at the Sandton Convention Center at 10:30. It's 2 minutes now before